Hello everyone, welcome to week number 6 in Science 200. We've got an important assignment due this week, so we'll be talking about that and some discussion board postings. So let's see what we've got going on. First of all, we want to remind ourselves about what we learned last week. And last week was all about biases in the scientific process and how as scientists we take out bias whenever we possibly can. Because that makes you expect something to happen and you just should observe what happens and then record that. So we try to take out bias. We do that in, for example, double-blind studies, but there are lots of other ways that we take out bias in the scientific process. You delved more into the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in 2010, and you're going to cover a little bit more some of the biology this week about what happened with that oil spill. So working in your Sumo web text, there's just one section this week on the oil spill, and the oil spill and its discussion this week is all about the ecological damage done by the spilling of this much oil. And you could ask yourself, well, what exactly was the toll on life and the ecosystem of the Gulf of Mexico? And the problem is there's not an answer for that. We'll never know the answer. We have counts of how many mammals and how many shorebirds especially were killed, but what else? How many fish? How many microscopic organisms in the ocean? You know, that would be absolutely impossible to even estimate. So what's the ecological damage? We can give some estimates, but there is still damage from this oil spill, even today in 2023, and we expect it to keep happening for a long time. That some of that oil is still on the bottom of the ocean. Some of that oil is still in the sand on the beaches. Some of that oil is still in the organisms that are present in the Gulf of Mexico. So we can try to estimate the ecological damage, which we have done, but this is only the tip of the iceberg. We do not know what has happened because of this oil spill, and what we really need to do is prevent it from ever happening again. Another section in your textbook will talk about, well, what has BP done and other oil companies done to prevent this from happening again? And I will tell you right now, they haven't done a whole heck of a lot, because what good is that going to do them? They can just ask the government to step in and help if they have an oil spill like this. So, you know, why expend the money to do more research on things like this or develop technologies that are better to help predict something like this? Yeah. They're pouring money into that, and that money is not going to stockholders. So, and that's the way business works. So they are not doing a whole heck of a lot to prevent this type of ecological damage from happening again. So let's hope it just doesn't. Also this week, your planning document is done. So this will be the final written version of your paper on your topic. Is due in week 6. You won't be doing any revising after this. From now on in weeks 7 and 8, you're going to take all the information from this paper and make a presentation. But this is your final paper that you're turning in week 6. And if you look at the point value, it is very high in points. So you've got to get these in so that I can get them graded. This is a big grade for the course, so make sure you get this turned in. If you have any questions, as always, please email me. I'm here for you. I will answer any questions that you have. In the next 2 weeks, next week, week 7, you're going to turn in a set of speaker's notes. So what are speaker's notes? Speaker's notes are your aids to help you get through a presentation by reminding what you're supposed to be talking about. And your audience doesn't see these speaker's notes, only you do. And you have them at the bottom of a slide. So your audience is seeing the slide up on the screen somewhere, wherever you're projecting. And you're looking at the slide but you're also looking at your notes underneath the slide. I'll show you how to do this next week because you can do it in PowerPoint. I'm trying to think. I think you can do it in Google Slides. But there are ways around this too if you don't have a way to put speaker's notes on your slides. But anyway, you're just making your set of speaker's notes about your presentation in week 7. And then week 8, you will turn in a slide presentation, 5 to 7 slides, basically, not counting a title slide, not counting the reference slide. So 5 to 7 slides of substance about your particular topic. So by now you should have learned a lot of information about your topic because you've done a lot of research and you've thought this through, right? So that's what's coming up in the next 2 weeks past this paper this week. All right. You also in week 6 and also in week 8 have discussion board postings due. So you haven't had this due since week 3. So here's another important grade. You have discussion board postings. Remember, your initial post is due by Thursday midnight. Your 2 response posts to your classmates are due by Sunday night at midnight. So your initial post, what was the most interesting thing that you learned through the research that you did? Now, if you chose GMOs, I know what you're going to say. So anyway, what was the most interesting thing that you learned in your research? So you're going to describe that to us. And why is that interesting to you? Was it surprising? Was it something that you never thought of before? There are all kinds of ways to look at this. And why is your topic relevant to you? And in your paper, you will have described why this is relevant to your audience, because that's tremendously important. Otherwise, if you don't tell them why it's important, they don't want to listen to it. So, but why is the topic relevant and important to you? Make sure you have at least a paragraph of description. This is not, here's a question, I'm going to write a sentence to answer it. You're writing this in a conversational tone so that we can find out what you learned about your topic. Your response post. What interests you about that person's topic? So if they're talking about dark matter, or they're talking about electric vehicles or ocean acidification or whatever, what is it about their topic that interests you? And what further questions do you have after you have read what they thought was interesting? Okay, so you're engaging with them about their topic and expressing some interest in what they've done and what they found. Okay, so those are your discussion board posts for this week. This week it will be very important to proofread your work for this final paper. If you did a super good job in week 5, when I grade those and you made a 50, made a perfect grade, guess what? You don't have to do any revisions. If you didn't make a perfect grade, then you do need to do some revisions. So go back and find out what I've written in my feedback, and then fix what you need to, and then proofread your work. This is so important in life for anything that you turn in. You'll think, oh, okay, I did it. I'm finished with it. No. Make sure that it is good. So go back and proofread it. Now, a lot of people don't have this particular skill. So here is a tip for you. If you will read it out loud to yourself, out loud. Yeah, it sounds weird, doesn't it? Read it out loud to yourself. You will find mistakes because your brain is having to tell your tongue what to say, and you will find mistakes as you do that. I know it sounds silly, but it really works. Pay attention to the spelling and grammar errors that pop up, because if you're using Word, or you're even using the discussion board or email in Brightspace for SNHU, you get little underlines under your words to tell you if you need a comma or have misspelled something. So pay attention to these errors as they pop up and see if you need to change them. Sometimes you do. A lot of the time you do, but sometimes you don't. So just check those. Okay. with that being said, I hope that you have a great week number 6. And as always, as the arrow is pointing right there, make sure you let me know if you're having any problems, any issues, or if you have any questions. m.sigmon@snhu.edu. I'm here to help you, and I will be glad to help you. Just let me know. Okay? Have a great week.